What is going on, YouTube people? Northeast Ohio Sports Cards here to take a macro view of the NBA market so far this season. This is one of my favorite exercises to do, but you can't do it till late in the season. I did something extremely similar to this right before the NFL playoffs started for the NFL market. You can find that video on the channel. I think I posted it like the week between week 17 and the first round of the playoffs. So I'm doing this one a little bit early. I probably should have waited, but we're kind of like at exactly the 4-month mark. A little slight longer than 4 months by a couple days, but we're basically 4 months into the NBA season. And what I like to do is pull back and use set and year charts and market movers. We'll talk about it in a second, but just to see which players have gone down, which players have gone up, how many have actually gone up. And the data is eerily similar to what we saw from that football video. I would, if I was smart enough, I would link to it, but I would encourage you to go back and maybe review that football video. We've talked about this data before on the channel. In the we need to change when we're buying and selling video that I did a few weeks ago. I talked about that video heavily, but that football video that I did that week continues to be eye-opening and really has set my mindset in regards to buying and selling patterns going forward. It could be a little dangerous because it's a one-off, but it was the first real preseason, season, off-season that we had since the spike in the market back in last March, right when the pandemic started. So it's a long preamble for what we're going to talk about today. Before we get into it, like, comment. If you're new here, click subscribe, and eBay affiliate program. If there is something you are going to buy from the wonderful world of eBay, please consider just clicking the link that I have in the description of this video. You're going to go hunt around for some basketball buys, whatever. It just takes you to the eBay landing page, do your searches. Anything that you buy it now or bid on, I get a very small percentage. It's nothing off your back other than clicking the link. It's a very simple, easy way to support the channel. I figured it was the affiliate that makes the most sense since it's a platform that we all know and love. In addition to that, we are going to be using market movers heavily today, and we're going to be using a feature that I don't show on the channel super often. So this is just kind of a different take on market movers and the way you can get data out of it. The links to market movers are down below, along with a coupon code. I cannot recommend this product enough. So if you are interested, please consider signing up through that link as well. I don't talk about that stuff a ton. I kind of let the products speak for themselves. And I only really back stuff or will put affiliate links and stuff like that on products that I actually use myself. I get lots of offers for paid advertising. I have not found one that I thought fits yet besides market movers because I use it all the time. And then obviously eBay and the Star Stock, $10 code thing. So, all right, let's rock and roll with all that being said. So today, what I did was I'm kind of sticking to ultra modern NBA, basically the Prism era of NBA. And I ran what are called set and year charts out of market movers. So that's what you see on your screen in front of you. Let me make this a little bigger. So you can essentially tell market movers, you give it a date range, which for all my basketball stuff, even though the season started a couple days before, I use Christmas Day as the line of demarcation. And then I run from there. So these all go from Christmas Day. I am recording this Wednesday night, the 28th. This video will post first thing you guys are watching this, and girls first thing Thursday morning. So you could do set and year charts. You could do 2 sets at a time on the same chart. So I had to run multiples to get all the years. And what I did was I did not include 2020 because there's no graded cards from it. And I like to use PSA 10 because it's a baseline. Raw cards, the value fluctuates so much depending on condition. So I go in, I tell it I want to see basketball. I want to see 2019 and 2018. I want to see Prism Basketball 2018 and Prism Basketball 2019. I want to see base and I want to see PSA 10. Now you can mix and match those however you want. I could have done, let me see 2018 select along with 2018 prism and then choose whatever variations. I could have done silvers, whatever. Now we all know that prism base has kind of been hammered this year, but it's the one that has the most sales. So it's the one that's going to give me the most data. So that is why I chose to use that as well. So I quickly scrolled through these. I did not spend a ton of time. So we're going to kind of be surprised semi together. I have a general idea of where this is going to go, but I can tell you right now, it's a lot of red. It's a bloodbath. To give you a brief summary, essentially, anyone that did not see huge spikes in the preseason and has played well during the season has seen big price increases. Anyone that saw massive price increases in November and December prior to the season starting has seen huge to moderate decreases. So I ran from 2012 Prism up through 2019 Prism, PSA 10 base. And we're going to get a little junk in here because you get, like, as I famously like to say, the 47th year base LeBron cards and weird 5th year Giannis cards and all that kind of stuff. So those will be a little bit of outliers, but we're mostly just looking at rookie cards. So let's just kind of start to scroll through here. So right now we're on 18 and 19. So 2018 and 2019. So Luka, Ja, Zion, Trey. And these are all the cards in PSA 10 that are in market movers. It is not every single card in the market, but most of them are. And they go in alphabetical order by first name. So I'm going to call out the greens because there's not many. Anthony Simons up 32%. I'm not going to read off every single one of these, but there are anything that's notable, I will mention. Bull, the world famous, down 45%. And once again, this is over basically the last 4 months and a few days. Just scrolling through here. A lot of the young hyped rookies that have not performed well. Brandon Clark, Cam Reddish, Cameron Johnson, all down. Kobe White, one of the biggest losers of the season, down 68%. 220 before the season started, $71 now for a PSA 10. The other reason I like doing this, because sometimes it's a little eye-opening on making purchases. Because you're like, wow, this guy got that cheap. Here's one for all the Sexland lovers. The Sex, Colin Sexton, $180 before the season started, down to $128. And remember, this card spiked to, I think, over 300 at one point in time, maybe even 350 very early in the season. So it has pulled back to its original preseason price and then gone down another $50 to end up that it's down 29% from the start date. But boy, this card's gone on a roller coaster of a ride. If you're a believer in Sexton, that's a fairly interesting price. So I'll make a note. And I don't know, like I said, I don't know if I would dive in on any of these guys yet. These non-playoff guys, it gets a little weird. I kind of like to wait more into the playoffs to see if they dip anymore as the market kind of forgets about them. But Sexton, like if he got down to around $100, that just seems extremely cheap to me. And I prefer the land over the Sex, but still. Darius Baisley, holy smokes, down 70% on the season. Now, he's been injured. He played really well in flashes. He's a pet project of a lot of people in the hobby. That seems real cheap for his PSA 10 Prism. Now, he could easily get his playing time replaced next year. That's a young team with a lot of moving parts. Garland for under 100 seems real cheap. Base PSA 10 Prism down 31%. He was one of my favorite buys in the preseason. His stuff also spiked up a lot higher and pulled back down. Deandre Hunter for 75 seems really cheap. He played really well, has just been devastated by a knee injury most of the season. He may even be back in time for the playoffs. DeAndre Ayton down 52%. $90. Whew. Devontae Graham, I got tons of questions on him preseason. I never liked him. Down 75%. And that's with the Hornets playing well. Now he got ran over by LaMelo a little bit. Gary Trent, one of the big winners. He's been playing out of his mind. Up 82%. Very low pop count on that. Only 228 of them. but he's been playing great. John Morant's next. I don't know what happened to this one. I don't think this is an accurate number. It says last sale $220. I'd have to dig in and look at the specific sale on this, but these have been going for around $350, $325 for a while now. So I don't know that that's a real number. There must be like a bad sale, must have slipped through. Sometimes that happens every once in a while in market movers. Then they flag it and catch it and we'll remove it. But regardless, this was a $765 card before the season started and is now down to, let's call it 300. I don't know what the percentage is on that, but it's a lot. It's a lot. It's like 50, 60% that Ja is down on the season. He seems, it feels weird saying it because I'm the biggest Ja fan in the world. He just seems criminally undervalued at this point. I cannot believe that his stuff has gotten this cheap, even in base Prism that there's a million of. Jaren Jackson Jr. has come to life of late with him returning to the court finally. What else do we got here? Jordan Poole, one of the few that are up, but still only up to $76. Kelton Johnson, what a wild ride this card's gone on this season, down to $87. This to me is an interesting offseason target. Kelton Johnson. Same with Kevin Porter Jr. at 65. Him getting a full offseason with the Rockets and actually, being integrated into that team. I think he could put up some really nice numbers next season, but I'm a KPJ homer. Landry Shamet up 84% for some reason. Random LeBron stuff. Here's a big one. Luka down 44%. Started the season at $1,900. Currently sitting at $1,100. I said I wasn't going to go through every card, and then here we are. Michael Porter Jr. down slightly, actually, from the start of the preseason. This still feels kind of too cheap to me, but I'm a big fan of MPJ, so a lot of numbers would feel too cheap to me. The Bridges, Miles is up, Mikal is down. I like both Bridges. I like all the Bridges. Build me all the Bridges in all the Madison counties. Mitchell Robinson down's been hurt. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, always a big fan of him. Up to $76. That feels about right. If that slips down in the offseason, I might be willing to pick some of that up. I could see him getting some run during or potentially starting for them next season. Oh, the fan favorite RJ Barrett, the man I love to hate. I said this was my number one one of my number one sells in the preseason. And once again, most of the NBA market's down, so I could have said sell anyone and I would have looked like a genius. So I'm not going to take too much credit for this. But $289 at Christmas Day, down 47% to $150. Let's move on to page 2 here really quick. Sekou down, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander down a ton. He's been hurt all year. Trae Young, $650 to $330. Yikes, currently hurt. But the Hawks also currently playing great. I'll point this out. The danger of second year cards, 2019 Prism base, his second year Prism, at the start of the season was selling for $140, is now down to $38. Can't even grade at PSA for $38. Tyler Hero down 65%, has not had a good season. And then Zion basically started at $975, currently at $644, down 35%. So you can see out of the 18 and 19 class, Terrence Mann is up slightly. And that's about it. Anthony Simons, if you want to count that. Gary Trent, Jordan Poole. I'm not counting this like Kobe Bryant 53rd year stuff. Landry Shamet, Miles, Nickeil Alexander, and Nasir Little for some reason. And Robert Williams. Robert Williams is playing really good lately. Not a lot of guys from those two classes with some heavy hitters. Once again, most of the guys that we talked about there had a huge run up in prices in the preseason, even some guys that didn't. Let's look at 17-18. I'm sorry, 16-17. Same thing. Base PSA 10. This looks like a bunch of gobbledygook because it's a million cards charted, but we care about the stat block down below. Try to speed this up here so this is not a 45-minute long video. All right, Brandon Ingram, notable, down to 220, was 500 before the season started. That feels pretty cheap for his PSA 10. De'Aaron Fox down to 200. That seems pretty cheap. DeJounte and Dennis Smith Jr. up slightly. Donovan Mitchell actually staying flat, which I feel is notable. 387 to 369. That's with him currently being hurt. I feel like this would actually be This was a lot higher prior to him just turning his ankle. His prices have slipped a little bit. This was around 400, 425, even 450 for a hot minute. I would expect this one to creep back up again. He was actually one of the few guys up on the season. Jamal Murray down a ton due to the ACL tear. Jaylen Brown down after being up quite a bit. So this is actually a bigger fall than it looks. Tatum down to $500, and these are pretty low pop count cards. Jaylen Brown's 540 pop count on his Prism. Tatum's at 5,000, down 32% and 22%. I don't know that they're going to make a bunch of noise in the playoffs, but boy, if they get a post-playoff dip, these guys seem way too cheap. John Collins down to $100. Jonathan Isaac, really talented, but just cannot stay healthy. Josh Jackson up slightly. Let's see who else is on here. Intriguing. Lonzo Ball down 55%. Not a lot of green. Not a lot of green. Pascal Siakam down 50%. Thomas Bryant tore his ACL down a ton. That's it. So who is up? Josh Jackson, DeJounte Murray, barely. Dennis Smith Jr. That's it. That is it. Those are the only players up in market movers from the 16-17 class this season. Like 3 guys, and none of them are people care about. I guess the notable ones that stayed pretty flat would be Donovan Mitchell, Jarrett Allen, that no one really cares about. That's it. The only notable one there really is Mitchell. If Mitchell does not turn his ankle a week ago or whenever that was, he would be in the green, to be fair to him. Now, he got hurt, so it is what it is. But he would actually be in the green if it wasn't for that ankle tear or turn. Not a ton, but he would definitely be up. So we'll give him an honorable mention. But yeah, not a lot of green on that list. And like I said, watch the football video. This is identical to what the football market did. Okay. This is 14-15. As we go further back, these lists get shorter. And you also see more people going up, but you also get weirder cards. So let's scroll through here. Aaron Gordon at 153 actually feels a little cheap given the way that team's been playing, but that got tricky with the Jamal Murray injury. Wiggins down a bunch, not surprising. Devin Booker down 14% at 880. That's a really intriguing buy for the playoffs. Here's where we start getting into the guys that did not get big price increases in the preseason, but then played out of their mind and saw huge price increases. Embiid, 380 in the preseason. I mentioned this in the preseason as one of my more favorite buys. Boy, I wish I bought some. I was distracted by other things at the time. $380 to $775, 100% increase. And this has actually been higher. It pulled back when he got hurt a little bit. Julius Randle, my Knicks fans, where are you at? Up 287%. I don't know if Julius Randle would be one I would want to be banking in long term. That would be someone I would probably be looking to get out in before the playoffs started. Karl-Anthony Towns, always criminally underrated. At some point, that dude's going to force a trade out of there, and his prices are going to go nuts. If that dipped below 300 down to 250 or something, I'd be really intrigued, but he's down 17%. Kristaps Porzingis down 40% to 180 for his PSA 10 Prism. Going to ignore the weird LeBron stuff from his 54th year. The Joker, the other classic. My stuff didn't get a big price increase, and then I decided to be the MVP of the league. He was $750 before the season started. He's currently at $1,550, 100% increase. Steph Curry, Prism base, going nuts. Not surprising. He's been playing out of his mind. And Zach LaVine seeing a slight increase. I'll be curious if this is on its way back down, though, because they've been playing like crap and are probably not going to make the playoffs. So this is the first set that we actually see major gains, and it's all on big men. Embiid, Joker, Randle. Guys that were criminally underpriced in the preseason, did not see big run-ups in prices prior to the season. That's point one. And then point two, played out of their freaking minds. That's the magic formula. And like I said, football, identical thing. All right, one last one to look at, 12 and 13. Andre Drummond up slightly. That's only because he signed with the Lakers. AD perfectly flat, which just kind of goes to show you if you don't play all year, people kind of just assume, I don't know what happens. It's the weirdest thing. Guys that are out for most of the season, their prices stay flat. Guys that play pretty well, like Jamal Murray, go down 70%. I don't understand it. Klay Thompson did the same thing. He should be on here at some point in time. He didn't see a big price increase, and he basically lost both his legs. Bradley Beal, basically flat, has been playing out of his freaking mind as well. Down 7%, has been having a hell of a season. CJ McCollum up slightly. Damian Lillard down slightly. But this is all, you got to remember now, we are in 12 and 13. These are much lower population counts and much more expensive cards for the star players. Big one, a real big one. Giannis, 3,800 to start the season, down to 2,600, 31%. Giannis still seems like criminally undervalued to me across the board. I'm going to keep saying it. One day I'll be right. Maybe. Jimmy Butler up very slightly. And that's his rookie year. This is his second year. Leonard down 16%. Nice little discount on Kawhi at 2,200. If you believe in the Clippers, the Clippers have to prove it to me. Clippers going to clip until they prove me different. And that's probably a good way to leave money on the table because this will be the year that they break out and he wins another title and his prices go to the moon. Down. Chris Middleton down. Here's Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson, I tore every ligament and every leg that I have, and I am up 15% on the year. You figure it out. Not playing is one of the best things that ever happened. Triple J's prices, Jaren Jackson Jr., hurt pretty much the entire season. Prices basically stayed flat. Which is kind of the whole point of this. That kind of backs up my whole point. Once these guys play, they cannot live up to the lofty expectations that the market sets for them at the beginning of the season for guys that have seen huge price increases and their prices fall. What? Luka's not averaging 40 a night with a triple-double? Sell. Because he saw a huge run-up in prices before the season started. Klay Thompson hasn't done anything. He's been sitting on a boat, rehabbing his knee, Achilles, whatever thing he tore. And his prices stay flat and actually go up slightly just because he's sitting there. Jaren Jackson Jr. did the same thing, and AD's prices did the same thing. Not playing, you won't see a big increase, but you won't see a decrease, apparently. And that's why I think right when the NBA playoffs start, I think is when you want to buy the non-playoff guys. That's one of the big takeaways. We basically, let me just finish this up real quick. Vucevic up. That was because of the trade. Steph Curry up. That's because he's insane. And that's pretty much the end of the list. Victor Oladipo down a bunch. Tobias Harris down a bunch. Once again, not many guys up. Which just goes to show you, the non-playoff guys, like I was saying, I think the time to buy is right when the playoffs start. Specifically target auctions. Not best offer buy it nows for whoever it is that you like for the non-playoff teams and slowly start to build up on them. Because once they're done playing, I just don't see their prices dipping. Them not making the playoffs is already built in. Everyone knows Colin Sexton is not making the playoffs. Everyone knows Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is not making the playoffs. That's baked in already. So maybe they see a slight dip, but I would be looking specifically at auctions while the money shifts to the playoff guys for people chasing that. For the playoff guys that play well and go far, they will see their prices increase during the playoffs. The question is do they get back to their preseason highs depending on the player? And that's what you don't know. Like when I did this in football, everyone was pretty much down, including Mahomes. Then Mahomes, went all the way to the Super Bowl and his prices kept escalating every single week. Same with like Baker Mayfield, Josh Allen, etc. The further these guys went, their prices basically jumped every single week. And then they would get eliminated and their prices would come back down a little bit. Some more than others. Like Baker and Josh Allen didn't seem like they had huge fall-offs. Patrick Mahomes did, but that's because the stuff got so astronomically high, it just couldn't sustain at that level. So like I said, I did this exact same exercise right before the football playoffs started, and the similarities are uncanny how similar this data is to that football data. I'll do this again, maybe right before the NBA playoffs start. We'll see. It's only, I think they got what, like 10 games left. So we're essentially there for all intents and purposes. But yeah, I mean, it's the exact same pattern, which makes me believe that my thought process of the cheapest time to buy most of these guys is probably right now. Because what's going to happen, say you're big into the land. You love Darius Garland. You love the land part of sex. And I'm not endorsing necessarily going out and buying this. I'm just using this as an example. He was like $78 for his PSA 10 Prism. Let's just call it 80. You start buying them for $80 starting now, give or take, and just start stockpiling them. You know, what is going to cause his values to dip over the next 6 months between now and Halloween when we assume the season will start? Not much, because he's not going to be in the news. So then what happens? You know, come fall, after football season starts, you know, you have the run up to football, everyone gets excited, and then people go, that basketball thing's coming. Let's shift some money over to that and start selling football at the beginning of the season. And you're going to start seeing those prices escalate even more. I think it's going to follow the same pattern as football. The floor is now, it's going to slowly start ticking up. We'll use Garland as the example. He'll be at 80 for a few weeks, then he'll go to 85 to 90. It'll sit there, then he'll go to 90 to 100. And it'll sit there, and then someone will make a video. He'll go from 100 to 115, whatever. It'll cruise along another few months. Then, you know, we'll get into the dog days of summer, early September. Oh, these are my top 5 guys from the young guys of under 23 and a half that I think you should buy now on my platinum program for $1,000 because I'm going to recommend them to everyone, and then they're all going to buy it and make me look like a genius. And then his prices jump to like 175 or whatever. You know, that's how this stuff works. At least that's my theory. Driven by the data that we saw from football. The prices floored in week 14, week 15, except for the guys that played well in the playoffs. And then basically steadily went up from there. Dak Prescott's bottom line price was like week 15. He took the dip from the injury, flattened out, and then slowly started ticking back up. And my gut says we're going to see the same thing with NBA. There'll be spikes like the NBA offseason. You know, like free agency is going to happen. Someone's going to make a big signing. A team's going to shake it up. Use the Hawks as the example last year. The Hawks were the team that had a bunch of money to spend. They added a bunch of players. What happened? Trae Young's prices went to the moon because they brought in a bunch of guys. Go look at a cap sheet for a contending team and figure out who has the most cap space with a star player and is going to look to make some moves. Cough, cough, Dallas. Cough, cough, Luka. I believe they have a large amount of cap space, and I believe they probably want to trade Porzingis. Anytime the Mavericks are in the news like that, if they trade for anyone with a pulse that's a big name and sign someone, I think Luka's prices are going to take a huge bounce. I could be completely wrong. As I famously like to say, I'm just a guy talking into a microphone in a basement. The hell do I know? I'm just using the past data to help predict the future. That's all I got for you guys and girls today. That's it. Setting year charts, little NBA market overview / buying and selling thought process / predictions / et cetera, et cetera. But I really like, this isn't a feature that I use every day on Market Movers, but this is one of the ones that when I bust it out on occasion, I always find a bunch of interesting nuggets. I don't think this is anything you need to look at like every week, but if you have Market Movers, you can do some really interesting comparisons with this set and year chart. I would be very curious, and maybe I'll do this. I don't have a video planned for Friday yet. Maybe I'll redo this, but I will do it with Select. Because I bet you there's a lot more green on the chart than red with Select. But I think we kind of know that already. I don't really need to make a video on that. We all kind of know Select has gone up this year. Prism has gone down this year. I think you'll still see a lot of red, but the percentages would be smaller. And in some cases, you would probably see more green. Because especially on Premier level has gone up quite a bit. I don't know. We'll see. I'll dig around. If something looks interesting, maybe we'll do that for Friday. I don't know. I hate to do kind of the same video back to back. But yeah, that's all I got. Like, comment, subscribe, all the YouTube stuff down below. If you're going to go buy some of these steals on eBay, please use the eBay affiliate link in the description. Once again, small percentage, helps the channel. I have no idea how much I actually make from it yet because I just signed up for the link this week. So we'll see what happens. But that money essentially helps me upgrade equipment. You know, I bought the new camera, the gimbal, etc. to film at shows / take to the National. If the National doesn't happen, I will probably look into going to one of the Dallas shows in the near future. So stuff like that helps fund those trips. Once again, that's all I got. Catch you guys and girls on the next one. Peace.